Yeah, thanks so much. Stoked for the chance to be here. This is actually like the first talk I've ever given at a Rust specific thing. The geospatial world doesn't always do stuff in Rust, so it's kind of neat to be able to, I don't know, chat with y'all. Yeah, so we'll chat about powering up Python using Rust. Just briefly on Development Seed is about a 60-person professional services company doing mostly geospatial work. We don't have any like products or anything like that. We just help companies do stuff. We work with partners like NASA, the European Space Agency, and a lot of nonprofits. And we work almost entirely in the open source and try and give our stuff away for free, which is a interesting business model, but works okay for us. For those that don't live in the geospatial world, there's a term called Cloud-Native Geospatial that kind of describes modern tooling for working with satellite data, vector data, and other kind of geospatial data products. The main premise behind it is that object storage from the cloud providers or however the object storage is deployed is like really cheap, and we should use it for building systems. So instead of traditional things that always go through APIs, if we can put data and metadata in object storage and then access that from all the layers of architecture, we can build like really performant systems with like fewer moving parts. And so that's the main premise. And a key part of the cloud native geospatial setup is the data formats that we use. So when we put data or metadata in object storage, if we organize it really well, we allow kind of range-based access over HTTP into those data, we can power visualizations and power analysis without downloading the entire file. Geospatial data products can be really large, giant pictures from space or rasters that cover the entire world, things like that. And so the ability to just reach in and pluck out the bits that you need from those data is like a really important part of building performance systems. And so I've listed a couple of the formats that are used here for different types of data. These slides are going to be available online if folks want to go. There's a guide that kind of describing the different formats. The exact details don't really matter for this talk. And then there's some metadata formats as well. So there's data as in like pictures from space, and there's metadata that help you find which picture from space you need for a certain date, time, and characteristics. And I listed these here just because one of the packages I'm going to talk about in this talk is for the stac specification, which is a metadata specification, an open community spec for search and discovery of geospatial data. And briefly, there's different entities within the stack spec. We don't need to get into it, but I just thought I'd throw this slide up because some of the terms will appear on a later slide. Essentially, items are the core thing that you're trying to find. An item is essentially a picture or multiple pictures from space in a certain date and time. And just to see like why you might want to use stack or use these different metadata and data formats, this is just a screen share, a recording of a website called StackMap. You can go to it yourself if you'd like to play around with it and see what this stuff's all for. But essentially, the idea is you can load in a bunch of images, visualize them in your browser, and then download them or use them in other ways. And Stack helps you find those things. So getting into kind of the software piece and where Rust starts coming in, right? So in geospatial, Python is kind of the lingua franca, especially for the processing side. People will do analysis in R, but Python is relatively dominant. And a lot of the things that we do are IO bound, right? Because we're big data located all over the world, coming in from ground stations, from satellites and things like that. And so a lot of times we're moving stuff around. And there's a library called GDAL, which is C and C++, but then has Python bindings and bindings to other languages. That's kind of the foundation of a lot of geospatial processing, but not necessarily all. And at Development Seed and other places as well, we've found that we've been able to power up geospatial processing with Rust. Pio3 in particular, it has made it so much easier to make Python bindings for Rust. I remember trying to do this before Pio3 and it was really, really hard. And so it's much more straightforward now to use Pio3 to allow Python users to have Rust under the hood. And then we also use WebAssembly, WASM, from the same Rust code bases to power stuff in the browser. And then in data processing pipelines, sometimes the command line interface is all you need. And so you can actually just use Rust directly and build binaries, which is really cool too. So I'm just going to highlight two packages that we've built. There's others, but these are kind of the two entry points that we'll talk about. One is ObStore. This is just cloud provider agnostic storage. It's built directly on object store from Arrow. I think I say that on the next slide. But these are just Python bindings to object store. For geospatial data processing, there isn't like one cloud provider that's dominant. And so when we build systems, we kind of have to build systems with all the different providers in mind. There were pure Python tools for doing this, but ObStore is kind of like taking that to the next step. In particular, it can be more performant, partially because it's async, and then also because we can release the global interpreter lock. Sometimes the sync operations can be faster as well. So this is just an example of using a really robust Rust package, the object store package from the Arrow community, putting Python bindings around it, and then just enabling better geospatial processing via that package. And kind of a subtle but important part of it as well is we get to avoid dependency hell. So because there's no Python dependencies for ObStore, when people build these giant processing pipelines, ObStore isn't adding more dependencies to the stack, which is always a pain to manage. A second package that I'll highlight is called rustac. It's basically the same sort of pattern, but just for the stack specification. I'm wearing a shirt because I work with the stack specification, but it's the same idea, right? So we can write a bunch of Rust code. We can expose a CLI that we can do processing with or analysis, and then we could also have the same stuff go for Python as well. And we actually use that to power like an entire ecosystem of tools. So like stack map, the interface I showed you earlier, uses WASM that comes from the same Rust package that all depends on the same kind of Rust stuff underneath it. And so we kind of are able to build this Rube Goldberg machine of geospatial processing pipelines in Python and then visualization in the browser, all sharing the same code, which has really streamlined a lot of the development that we do at Development Seed and allowed us to a lot more reuse than we used to when we have to kind of write stuff custom for each language. We're continuing this pattern. So I mentioned GDAL earlier, which is kind of the main package for the geospatial ecosystem. We're taking small pieces of that ecosystem that we use a lot. So especially like GeoTIFF access, which is a really common data format for rasters, and then ZAR, which is a newer one. And we're kind of applying that like Rust core Python on top pattern to those. Not because we don't want to use GDAL ever, but because in certain cases, we want to get better performance by going directly to the data format from Python down through Rust. And then I will call out that we're not using Rust for everything. In particular, some of the in-browser visualization that my colleague Kyle Barron is doing. He's finding that WASM is actually a little too bloated for what we're trying to do. And so pure TypeScript is actually just as performant and smaller size than doing this kind of like Rust with WASM on top of it model. So there's always kind of a decision and a trade-off to make there about how we want to implement these patterns. But yeah, that's kind of just a brief overview of how we're using Rust Python for the geospatial. So these slides will be available online. And yeah, I really appreciate your time.